In the 1908 show The Fairylogue and Radio-Plays, which was an early attempt to bring L. Frank Baum's Oz books to the motion picture screen, Glinda was portrayed by Evelyn Judson. She was played by Olive Cox in the 1910 version of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. In it, she appears in one scene in which she enlarges Toto to make him a better protector for Dorothy. The 1942 movie was adapted into a stage musical for performance at the Muny in St. Louis, where Glinda is called the Sorceress of the North and was portrayed by Patricia Bowman. In the 1964 animated TV show Return to Oz, the plot of which is basically a remake of the storyline of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, the first book in the famous Oz series by author L. Frank Baum, Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, appears, voiced by Peggy Loader. Here, Glinda warns Dorothy and Toto regarding the Wicked Witch of the West, who has been restored back to life and cast the dark spell by erasing her friend's abilities and kidnapping the Wizard of Oz for her revenge plot on Dorothy to steal away her magic silver slippers. So along with the assistance of her Oz friends, Dorothy and Toto must journey to stop and rid Oz of the Wicked Witch for good. In the 1969 movie The Wonderful Land of Oz, Glinda appears, played by Hilary Lee Gase, with her singing voice dubbed. She is portrayed as much younger than the Billy Burke incarnation, although her pink dress is similar. She sings two stirring solos titled, "Try to Touch a Star" and "I've Watched Over You." In the second song, she makes the touching and astute observation that the Scarecrow possesses not only a brain, but also a heart, at least metaphorically. Also, she is able to summon the powers of all the good fairies, when restoring Princess Ozma to her rightful form, almost making her equal to L. Frank Baum's Queen Lurline. In the 1972 animated movie Journey Back to Oz, the unofficial sequel to the 1939 movie, operatic mezzo-soprano Rhys Stevens provides the voice of Glinda, the Good Fairy, as she is described in the opening title sequence. However, the Cowardly Lion refers to her as the Good Witch of the North later in the movie. Here it is revealed that this Glinda's magic is no match for Mombai's. The exact opposite was true in Baum's original books. Still, she helps Dorothy confront Mombai and her army of green elephants in a way that evokes the help offered by the Queen of Field Mice in Baum's The Land of Oz. She sings a climactic song called "You Have Only You" to Dorothy, making her look inside herself for the strength that is not forthcoming from old companions such as the Tin Woodman and the Cowardly Lion. In this regard, Glinda reveals how in touch she is with stark reality, a trait that harkens back to Baum's original Glinda. At the end of the movie, Glinda sends Dorothy back to Kansas by conjuring up another tornado. This, too, is in keeping with L. Frank Baum's original Glinda, who had the power to command the spirits of the air according to the Emerald City of Oz. In the 1974 Broadway musical The Wiz, Glinda is the Good Witch of the South, as she appears in the Oz books. She has three sisters, the other witches of Oz, Adapril, Eveline, and Eva Meehan. In this musical, Glinda is portrayed by D.D. Bridgewater. She appears only once at the end of the musical to help Dorothy return to Kansas from the Land of Oz. In the 1978 musical movie The Wiz, which is adapted from the 1974 Broadway musical, Glinda is played by Lena Horne, and she causes the snowstorm that brings Dorothy to Oz. In the 1982 anime movie The Wizard of Oz, Glinda, looking very young and with long blonde hair, voiced by Wendy Thatcher, claims to be the sister of the Good Witch of the North, despite the appearance of quite a large age gap. Baum did always say she is much older than she looks, and appears in the Emerald City in a Deus Ex Machina similar to the MGM film. In the 1985 dark fantasy adaptation of the 1939, The Wizard of Oz movie, Glinda appears in the coronation scene at the end, together with other movie characters. Glinda appears throughout the anime TV show, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, voiced by Barbara Pogmiller. Here, she wears a light pink dress and has long blue hair with a small crown and blue eyes. After Dorothy and her friends travel to Glinda, so that she can help Dorothy return to Kansas, she instructs Dorothy on how to use her magic shoes to return to Kansas, and makes Scarecrow the King of Oz, Tin Man the ruler of the Winkies, and Lion the King of the Forest. She also plays a role in the later story arcs, helping to transform Tip into Ozma. Glinda makes a cameo in the 1990 movie, Wild at Heart, towards the end after Sailor, the main character, gets unconscious as a revelation and tells him to not turn away from love. In the animated TV show The Wizard of Oz, Glinda appears, voiced by Betty Jean Ward. Here Glinda is portrayed to be very youthful, wearing a white gown with pink embroidery rather than a wholly pink gown and having blonde hair. In the story, she arranges for Dorothy to return to the land of Oz by means of the ruby slippers, because the Wicked Witch of the West has been brought back to life and Glinda needs Dorothy's help to set things right again. The 2003 musical adaptation of Wicked, which is told from the perspective of the witches of the land of Oz, features Kristen Chenoweth in the role of Glinda, who was originally a popular girl named Glinda of the Upper Uplands, Gillikin County. Here, she wears a blue, long dress and has the traditional blonde hair, but this time with a full head crown. The musical plot begins before and continues after Dorothy's arrival in Oz from Kansas. Here showcases the journey of Glinda and her unlikely friend, Elphaba, who later becomes the Wicked Witch of the West, as they struggle with opposing personalities and viewpoints, rivalry over the same love interest, reactions to the wizard's corrupt government, and ultimately, Elphaba's public fall from grace. In the 2005 musical movie The Muppets Wizard of Oz, which is based more on the book, Glinda appears as the Good Witch of the South, played by Miss Piggy. Here, she's wearing a lavender dress with a feather boa and can be seen toward the end, after Dorothy comes to her, wanting to get home, explaining to her that by clicking her heels together 3 times, she will be able to go anywhere she desires. Glinda appears in the TV miniseries Tin Man as a lavender-eyed woman with dark hair, rather than blonde, and wearing different clothes throughout the show. Here she is the Queen of the Oz and mother to DG and Ascadelia, who are 2 sisters and among the main characters, portrayed by Anna Galvin. In the 2011 animated movie Tom and Jerry the Wizard of Oz, Glinda appears as a young woman with brown hair and a big crown, wearing a pink gown, voiced by Frances Conroy. First, she can be seen in a soap bubble memory, giving Dorothy the ruby slippers, and then at the end, instructing her, as well as Tom and Jerry, how to get back home by using the slippers. Glinda reappears in the 2012 movie Dorothy and the Witches of Oz in a supporting role with traditionally blonde hair, but instead of a crown, she wears a wreath in the form of flowers and then a Viking-like crown with white feathers and a blue fur coat, with her role reprised by Noel Thurman. In the TV show Supernatural, Glinda appears in the episode LARP and the Real Girl as a fairy Gilda with brown hair and in a white dress. She describes herself as the good kind of fairy and is portrayed by Tiffany DuPont. Glinda appears next in the 2013 movie Oz the Great and Powerful in a major role, portrayed by Michelle Williams. Here, she is the Good Witch of the South as well as the daughter of the slain King of Oz, in her traditional appearance with minor differences, who rules and protects a peaceful kingdom in Oz inhabited by kind Quadlings, Tinkers, and Munchkins. In the story, she guides Oscar, who is the main character, to achieve his destiny of defeating her sister, Evanora, and restore order in Oz, becoming his love interest in the process. Next, Glinda appears in the animated musical movie Legends of Oz: Dorothy's Return, voiced by Bernadette Peters. Here, she has a youthful appearance, light brown hair with a big flower-ornamented crown, as well as a long pink dress. For the most part, she performs her original role with some differences, such as when she confronts the movie's main antagonist, Jester, he turns her into a subservient marionette, and then, at the end, after Dorothy defeats Jester, she is returned back to normal and thanks Dorothy for saving the land of Oz, after which, she helps Dorothy return home, not by using ruby slippers, but with her magical spell. In Season 3 of the TV show Once Upon a Time, Glinda appears as a guest character, portrayed by Sunny Maubrey. Here, her hair is returned to blonde but with no crown, and her dress is now in silver color. Also, she wears a big necklace with a white stone and corresponding earrings. She first appears in the episode, A Curious Thing, when Snow and Charming ask her for help in defeating the main villain in the story, Zelena. And in the next one, Kansas, she is shown in the past, trying to convince Zelena to fight her evil tendencies and join her and her sister witches as a protector of Oz, as well as giving her the same necklace as hers and her sisters to harness her powers. With her attempt failing, she meets a recently arrived Dorothy who seemingly manages to defeat Zelena by herself, after which Glinda goes with her to the Wizard of Oz to help her get back home, for which she uses gold slippers. Glinda reappears in the 2015 TV musical special The Wiz Live Show, played by Uzo Aduba. She makes her grand appearance towards the end of the musical, with her appearance changed to being portrayed by a black woman in a gold dress and with braided hair. She's flying down to the ground to help Dorothy return to Kansas from the land of Oz and tells her that for this she doesn't need any shoes, because the magic is inside her. The TV show Emerald City features Glinda as one of the main characters, reprised by Jolie Richardson. Here she has blonde hair with a small crown and a silver dress. She is the former Witch of the North, one of the 4 powerful cardinal witches. She is an authoritative woman who has had a deep-seated hatred towards the wizard ever since he outlawed magic. Since the change of regime in Oz, Glinda also runs a boarding house for orphaned girls where she oversees their education and chooses the best of them to join the wizard's high council. It is also revealed that she in fact conspires against the wizard's rule and prepares to overthrow him, using the wizard's councilwomen as spies and aiming to use the secretly raised young witches for war. Next, in the animated movie sequel to the 2011 Tom and Jerry movie, Tom and Jerry Back to Oz, Glinda appears in a minor role, voiced by Frances Conroy. First, Glinda appears at the beginning, in the recalling of the previous movie. Then after Dorothy meets with her friends the Lion, the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, and they tell her about a new threat, the Gnome King and his army, in the land of Oz, that appeared since she left. As they recall the events on the Dorothy Day and finally at the end, appearing from a bubble and helping Dorothy restore the Emerald City with her ruby slippers, which she gifts to her from now on, and then bids her farewell. Glinda appears next in the animated TV show Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz as a main character, voiced by Grey Griffin. In the show, she is depicted as being tall, youthful, with brown hair, a glass crown, and wearing a pink, wide dress. She is mainly seen going through different adventures with the main character, Dorothy, who is now a crowned princess of the Emerald City, as well as helping her and her friends solve various new problems and stop any threats to the peace and harmony in the land of Oz. The CGI animated TV show Lost in Oz features Glinda, voiced by Jennifer Hale, as one of the main characters. In the show, her appearance is changed drastically. Now she has entirely red hair with no crown, red eyes and eyeshadow, pointy ears with red earrings, a black and white dress, a small pendant, and white, full-arm gloves. Glinda replays her original role in helping Dorothy, who had accidentally gotten into the land of Oz, return home and save the Emerald City from sinister plans of the Gnome Kingdom, for which she has to collect all the different types of magical elements with her newfound friends. Glinda reappears in the 2024 musical movie, Wicked, Part 1, which is the first movie adaptation of the 2003 musical, as a main character, with her role portrayed by Ariana Grande Butera. Glinda's appearance remains traditional, with blonde hair and a silver crown, but unlike the musical, most of her clothes are pink instead of blue, plus she has ruby slipper-type shoes in her wardrobe. Glinda is also traveling by bubble, which is consistent with the musical. In the movie, Glinda, then named Galinda Upland, which got shortened in the future because of a professor's constant mispronunciation of it, first met the Wicked Witch, Elphaba Throp, at the prestigious Shees University, after which they were made to share a bedroom to their mutual discontent. On a night of clubbing at the Ozdust Ballroom, Galinda gave Elphaba her grandmother's hat to wear, because of which she was mocked by everyone. After realizing her mistake, Galinda dances with her and later repays Elphaba's kindness by giving her a makeover, after which they become close friends. When Elphaba is summoned by the Wizard of Oz himself to the land of Oz, Glinda accompanies her on her journey. But after discovering that Madame Morrible, Dean of Sorcery, and the wizard have been planning to use her best friend all along and have succeeded in their nefarious scheme, Glinda, following Elphaba, bids an emotional farewell to her, supporting her decision and confirming their deep friendship.